right? Some kind of shading. All right, let's talk about it. So we have number 2. In fact, I'm just going to rewrite it when we got a little more room. So what is it? Y less than negative 4x minus 4? Minus 4x minus 4, yeah. And then on the other side, I'm going to separate them sideways. Y greater than x plus 2. Okay. All right, I'm going to separate them sideways like that. Okay. So let's graph these things. So we're going to put them on the same graph. Yeah.
What section is
This, yeah, good question. This is section 9.3. 9.3. All right, so let's put them on a graph. So we're going to put both these on the exact same graph. So when we do so, let's do the green one first. Where do we need 2 dots, right? These are both a straight line that are going to have shading on one side or the other. These are all your test memos. All right, so where do we start? Where's the first dot?
-4.
Yeah, you start right there, huh? Start at that -4 dot. And that's always in the middle, isn't it? Positive up the middle, negative down the middle. So down 4 in the middle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, boom. There's our first dot. Remember the number that's off to the right. By the way, that's because y is alone. I think in a minute they're going to give us some where y is not already alone. And in that case, you got to get y alone first, then you do this. But they're giving these starting us off pretty gentle. Y is already alone for us. So start at -4. Okay, now how do we get our second dot?
The -4 on the side of the
You go down 4 more down.
And then what?
1 to the right.
Yeah, because this is -4 over 1, isn't it?
The first slope.
Right? Yeah, you make it look like a fraction. That doesn't change anything to put a 1 underneath it, right? It's still a fraction. -4 divided by 1 is still just -4. I haven't changed anything. But now I've got my 2 numbers for rise and run, don't I? This is the rise, and the bottom is the run. It's a slope, which is rise over run. So that means from the first dot, in fact, I'm going to need to do these a little tighter then. I didn't realize it went down so far. So the first one is 1, 2, 3, 4 right there. And then from that dot, you go down 4 more and over 1. So down 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. There it is. Connect those dots. And I'm sure I'm going to have to make this a dotted line, but I'll go back and fix that. But there's the line for starters. We good there? It's actually got to be a dotted line. I'll explain why in a minute. But are we good to there? So I started at -4, and then I went down 4 over 1 because that's the slope. Down 4 over 1, right? Okay, so connect the dots, got the line. Now, why am I saying it has to be a dotted line?
It's not equal.
Yeah. Now, remember if somebody gave me equals, think with me. I don't want this just to be some math rule you heard. It's harder to remember that way. Oh, I got to make it the same. Let me just give you the same question, but with an equals. You don't have to write this down, but just watch for a second. What if somebody gave me the same question, but they gave me equals instead of greater than, less than, whatever? Just gave me equals. Well, I would do the same thing, right? I would start down at -4. There's my first dot. And then I would go down 4 over 1. 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1. Same thing. Connect the dots. And that would be the whole graph, huh? It would just be that line. There would be no shading. There'd be no dotted anything. It'd just be that line, wouldn't it? We've done that before. That's not new for you, right? That you already know. When it says equals, you do just the thin line. So do you know what that means? That means all the points, not just those 2 that we used to find the line, but all the millions and millions of little points that are on that line make it equal, don't they? That's what a graph is. I'm not sure you're 100% aware of that. You probably are. A graph is the picture of the truth. That's what it is. So a graph is a picture. It's like a light bright. Remember that old toy light bright? Remember that with all the little pixels and they light up? I always wanted that toy. Never got it. But, and so it's like you're saying, hey, light bright, I want all the pixels to light up that make it equal. And so all the ones on the thin line light up. Not just the 2 I used to find the line, but the infinite dots on the line, they all light up. So So that's all the places where it's equal. And everywhere above the line, like this over here is the top of the line, and this is the bottom of the line. Can you see that? In other words, this side is where the positive y values go, and this is the bottom. So if they told me to graph y greater than negative 4, I would shade that side, wouldn't I? Because that would be all the dots that make y greater. And if they told me to shade y less than that same equation, I would shade this side, because those are all the dots, all the millions of dots out here, are all the dots that make it less than, that are on the bottom of the line. So we have 3 zones, don't we? We have above the line, the greater stuff, below the line, the less stuff, and right on the line, the equal stuff. Greater, equal, less. So they can ask you to give them as an answer one or more of those zones. They can say, please just give me the greater. Or please give me the greater or the equal. Right? They want greater than or equal. Or give me the equal or the less. You know, they can do different things. And we just give them what they want. So in our case, what are they asking for? What do they want from us?
Greater.
Less than.
The less. Y's on the narrow side of that symbol, right? Not the wide mouth side. He's on the narrow side. So they're saying, hey, please give us the y value. Here's the y-axis, right? The vertical axis. Where are the low y values? The lesser. Down here, huh? Right here they are. Here's the low y values. So it's the bottom of the line, isn't it? And did they say less than or equal? No, just less, which means they don't want the line, do they? Because the stuff on the line is the equals, right? Over here we graphed just, whoops, I erased it. Graphed just the equals, and it was just the straight line. You with me on that? The greater, the equal is the line, and the less is the below the line. So if they say, hey, we would, oh, I hit the wrong, I'm hitting the buttons too fast here. All right. So if they say we want the less than stuff, then they're saying, whoops, I'm in the wrong one, huh? Want the less than stuff. They just want the shading below the line. So how do we, and they don't want the line. So how do we say not that you don't get the line? We dot it. When you're dotting the line, you're saying the line is not included as the answer. It still needs to be there. Because you might wonder, why don't you just not put the line on there at all? Well, we still need a border. We need the edge. But by dotting it, we're saying it's not part of the answer. Because they didn't want the equal stuff. They only want the lesser stuff. Is that making sense? You good there? If they had said less than or equal, then I would have made it a solid line. I would have included the line. Okay, let's do the other side. What's the other side say? Where do we start for graphing the red one?
2.
Start at 2. That's positive 2 up to 1, 2, right there. And then how do we find our second dot? 1 over 1, yeah. Rise over run. So that means go up 1 over. Yeah, if there's nothing in front of the x, then it's just 1 times x, because that's the same as x, and 1 over 1 is just 1. Rise over run. So I went up 1, so I started it up 2. And then I went up 1 over 1 to my second dot. Connect the dots again. Dotted line, huh? Because there's no equals there. They only want, what do they want? What side of the line am I going to shade? Y greater. The greater y. So don't think right left. Think above or below. Why? Because it's y. Y's up down. Huh? X is right left, but y's up down. So they want the greater y values, the higher y values. They want up here. They want up here, don't they? The top line. And they don't want the line if they said greater than or equal, then they would have said make the line solid, because we want the line also. We also want the equal stuff, but they didn't say that. Just the greater. Okay, now the overall, how do we do the overall answer? Well, the overall answer is where the 2 shadings overlap. Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell, especially on my graph's a little messy here. But the 2 shadings overlap. Can you see it a little bit? Right there. See how that's where the 2 shadings overlap? So that's the final answer to the question, is right there. Now let me do that with you on Math Excel real quick. They want us to, graph them both, do the shading thing. So, remember, what do we need alone?
Y.
Y, yeah. So take that blue equation and get the y alone first. So we can't do any of the things we've been doing unless you got y alone. So take that equation, get y alone.
X over 5. X will be equal to y. So that's,
X minus Y is greater or equal to Y.
yeah, but your point, you will start your point.
So we're going to divide by the 5, right?
1/5 of x plus 0. Because you don't mention anything, you use side with 0.
Yeah, it would help to just go plus 0. You don't have to. But we need a starting number. It's just 0. We good there? So I got y alone. I divided by 5 on both sides. Then I just put in the plus 0, like we're always doing. Plastic surgery, removing the wrinkles, giving it a different look without changing the value. Huh? So that plus 0 doesn't change the value. Now we can graph the thing. Where do we start?
0.
Yeah, the first dot's at 0. So put that on there. So first dot's right in the middle, right? Started. So once you get y alone, you start at the number that's off to the right. And then from there, how do you get the second dot?
You went up, down, 1.
Up 1.
Yeah, the rise over run. How there's a 1 here. So that's my rise, and this is my run. Yeah.
And
Whoops.
5.
So go up 1
Right.
and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So up 1 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right there. Up 1 over 5. Is that making sense? Up 1 over 5, and then connect the two dots. Solid line or dotted line?
Solid.
Yeah, solid bar, solid line, right? Because they want the greater or the equals. They do want the equals. They want the line. They want the thin line and the greater. So which side am I going to shade for greater?
The top.
Yeah, I'm going to shade above the line. Good there. So they want it greater or equal. Oh, no, they didn't. You guys just let me do crazy stuff.
Lower.
What are we supposed to focus on? Boy, it got me too.
Why is less than?
Yeah. What side is y getting? It's easy to get turned around there, huh? Because we're used to the y's being on the left. And if it bugs you, you could just turn the whole thing around. You know what I mean? But really, y is on the narrow side. It's less. It's lesser y values. I did it wrong.
You need to go on the bottom.
Yeah, you got to shade the bottom of the line. See how that worked? So shade below the line. Right, because that, did everybody see that? See that symbol? Because a lot of people think, well, you just read the symbol left to right. That's not true. That's what I just did and messed up. You read from who's important. Y, in this case. It's all about Y, above or below, right? Y, above or below. And Y is getting the narrow side of the symbol. He's on the narrow side, which means we shade below. Right? He's not getting the wide mouth side. So that says Y less. If it bugs you, just go ahead and turn around the whole thing. Symbol and all. That's the same thing, isn't it? That'll probably be easier. If it bugs you, just flip the whole thing around. That's saying the same truth. Y is less below. Okay, let's do the red one. Now for the red one, you got to get Y alone again, right? So go ahead and get Y alone up there. And then see if you can do the graph from there. What do I do to get Y alone? I'm going to jump that X to the... So what happens when something jumps to the other side? Negative. And then finally, last step to get Y alone?
Divide by 3.
Divide. And when you divide, you got to divide all 3 of them, huh? And by the way, what if I had divided by a negative?
Switch
I'd have to flip the symbol. No, we don't this time because I divided by a positive 3. But do you remember that when it comes to greater than, less than? If you divide by a negative number, you must flip the symbol. I didn't have, here I divided by a positive 3, so it wasn't needed. But if you ever divide by a negative, you got to flip the symbol. That tricks a lot of people on the greater than, less than stuff. Okay, so what are we getting then? Y less than or equal to negative x over 3 plus 2, right? 6 over 3, 6 divided by 3 is 2. All right, so where do we start? Start it, yeah, 2 up, 1, 2, right there is our first dot. And then where do we go from there?
We go down.
Yeah, down 1, rise, over, run. Down 1 over 3, so down 1 over 1, 2, 3. Right there. How we doing? Down 1 over 3. Everybody tracking with me? So the first dot's at up 2. Right, that's at up 2 there. And then I went down 1 over 3. Connect them solid line or dotted? Yeah, solid bar, solid line. Okay, now am I going to shade above that line the higher y values or the lower y values? Yeah, y is getting the narrow side, below that line. So I'm going to shade below that line. So where do the two shadings overlap? Down here. Everybody, it gets kind of messy. Everybody seeing that? Where the two shadings overlap. We good? Questions I can answer on these? So on the Math Excel, you'll just do the paint bucket on the bottom section there. All right. So let's do the first one. So you're going to get y alone in all cases, right? So go ahead and get y alone for all of them, and then put all three graphs on the axis. Try to make it big so you can see everything. It's going to be messy. So I'll take this first. I'm going to jump the 2x over. So I'm going to put a plus 0 out there, right? Because that'll help us graph. The middle one already has y alone. That's nice. So I'm going to go to the graph. I'm going to start graphing the first one now. So, okay. So the first one, where's the first dot for the first equation? Yeah, you start right in the origin, right at 0, huh? And then where do we go from there?
Down 2.
Yeah, down 2 over 1, right? Rise over run. So go down 2 over 1. Go down 2 over 1. Connect that solid line or dotted line? Yeah, solid bar, solid line. Like that. My line looks kind of funny, but that's sort of it. Down 2 over 1. We good there. And which side are we going to shade for that thing? Yeah, remember, it's all about y, isn't it? It says y greater. See right there? Y is on the wide mouth side. So I'm going to shade above that line. The greater stuff, the stuff above the line. Let's go to the blue in the middle. Now, how do you do y equals less than or equal to 7? What do you do with the blue one when there's just like one? Yeah, you make a line going through y equals. Those are easier. When there's just one letter, you just say, okay, all I can do is hit the y-axis at 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right there. You just put, it's going to be a flat line, huh? Right through at 7. See how that hits at y equals 7? And which side are we going to shade for that thing? Below. Y less than, huh? So I'm shading below that line. Is that making sense so far? How we doing? So when there's just one letter, those are actually easier. It just hits the y-axis at 7. And then the third one, the red one there. Have you already solved for y? Let me give you a second if you haven't. I want to make sure. Okay, so what do we do? I'm going to jump that 4x over.
No, because negative divided by negative is 2/3.
We good so far? So I just jumped the 4x over. He became a negative 4x. Because what was in front of him was nothing or positive. So when he jumps to the other side, in front of him becomes a negative. And now what do I got to do to finish getting y alone there? Divide by negative 6. Remember, we always divide by exactly the number that's in front of the y. Same sign, same everything. Identical twin. We always divide by the identical twin. So, and I got to go all three of them by that. So what do I have to do? Yeah, because I'm dividing by a negative, you got to flip the symbol. So greater than, yeah, exactly. So y is greater than or equal to. Now what happens over here? Well, two negatives right here, positive, and then reduce that fraction, 2/3 x, and positive over negative there, negative 2. How are we doing? Everybody okay with all those steps? So you see what happened with the signs, right? The two negatives made a positive, and 4/6 reduced to be 2/3.
So then it would be the same.
And then positive over negative, positive 12 over negative 6 made negative 2. And we had to flip that symbol. So whenever you divide by a negative, flip symbol. Let me write that. Divide by negative, flip the symbol. So whenever you divide by a negative, right there, I had to flip the symbol. Okay, let's graph it. So where's my first dot?
-2.
Yeah, we start at -2, right there. And then rise over run. Go up 2 over 1, 2, 3. Connect the dots. Solid line or dotted? Yeah, solid bar, solid line. Goes like this. It's getting messy. Which side do we shade? Above that line or below that line? Y greater. So you shade above that line. So where do all three shadings overlap? Yeah. Can you see? It's up in here. It's actually gonna be that little section right there, huh? It's gonna be closed off triangle, really, isn't it? The blue line and the red line are gonna meet over there and pinch off that triangle like that. So there it is. So it's the same thing, just a little more mess, right? Don't forget when you divide by negative, flip the symbol, get y alone in all three, shade where it's saying, and we're looking for the overlap of all three shadings. That's close to as hard as they get in this section. If you're good with that one, I think you'll be good for all of them. Things I can answer on that?